it's Jessie from Jessie Marie Does Stuff here on FlossTube, and I am coming to you on this Wednesday, April 24th, 2019, with my next update video. The title tells it all. It's the eve of 31. Birthday tomorrow. That's about all I feel about it. It's just another day, but it is my birthday nonetheless. So here we go. Okay, so let's talk about this real quick. It's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I started filming at around noon. I made it through the whole video and went to go into iMovie and start editing. And iMovie quit unexpectedly, and my file is gone. Again. Yeah. So I talked about this last week because earlier last week I went through this. It was why I didn't film and post on Wednesday last week. So I went through this last week, and in order to sort of deal with it, last week I filmed in segments and in chunks and then spliced it all together. It was choppier than I wanted it to be, but like I didn't have a choice in the matter. So I thought, well, okay, maybe it's all right. Maybe it's just like because we just had the new hard drive put into the laptop, like maybe it just has to get used to things. And then today, I completely forgot about the issues. It didn't occur to me to film in segments or to do a trial run or anything. Well, as it turns out, I did a trial run, and the larger segments don't work. So I filmed directly into iMovie. iMovie has access to the FaceTime camera that's built into my MacBook Pro, and I guess that it just can't handle the longer clips, so to speak. So my last clip was about an hour and a half, and then I was just going to chop it up and edit out the stuff that I needed to, and update it and, do all my things. But I guess that it just can't handle the big files. So we're going to continue in this segment filming business, I guess. And hopefully I can make it seamless. Hopefully I can smooth it out a little bit. So yeah, that's where we're at. So let's talk about the things that I have to talk about today. This video is going to be longer than maybe anybody should be expecting. I last filmed on Friday, so 5 days, like surely this should not be a terribly long video, and originally it wasn't. I have just a few projects that I've worked on to talk to you about. I have a book that I finished, a knit that I am still working on, but like it was going to be over and done in about 30 minutes. And then this morning, or late last night I suppose, School of Magical Stitches and Literature released the May-June extra credit for reading, for stitching, as well as the Harry Potter reading task, which can pretty much guess what that is, and then the alternate reading task. And so when I got up this morning and I saw that the events had posted, I sat down to planning, and I was so excited to start planning and figuring things out. I talked last week about how I was really hoping that they would drop at least the reading extra credit so I could talk about it this week, and they did. So thanks for that birthday present, Kate and Vicky. I'm sure that they didn't have me in mind when they did that, but anyway. So I was really excited, and I've got it all planned out. Now, a couple of things. I'm not going to walk through the stitching extra credit this week. I will do that next week. First of all, to try to limit the video a little bit. And then also, I still have some details to iron out about it, and I'll talk about why and how I'm going to deal with that and once we get to plans. And then I am going to run through the reading extra credit and the books that I have chosen to read between May and June. There's 12 books that I have planned to read, and there are 4 books that I have to talk about otherwise. So this one's going to be heavy book heavy. Yeah, it's going to be a little book heavy. So if you aren't in for the books, don't worry. I'm saving that till the bitter end so you can mosey on along. Anyway, I did want to talk about the books though, because some of the tasks are difficult, I would say. And so maybe this will help you guys come up with some ideas if you're struggling to figure out what to read for each of these tasks. So there we have it. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in, and we are going to get into the works in progress. No Q&A again this week because, to be totally honest, I didn't go through the comments with a fine-tooth comb to try to find any questions. So I will go over that next time, and it'll help with saving time today. Okay, in works in progress, I have 2 projects that I've worked on that I'm not going to do the before and afters for because I didn't work on them enough to warrant doing all that photo editing or whatever. So I'm just going to point out what I did in the last week. On Friday, I had talked about the pop-up event in School of Magical Stitches, and we had to do a sum total of 90 stitches, 30 stitches to represent 3 separate things having to do with the full moon. And so I chose to work on, for that pop-up event, I put all 3 of the 30 stitch sets into this project, and that is Farmhouse Christmas Horsin' Around, block 2 of the Farmhouse Christmas series from Little House Needleworks. And I'm doing this whole series on 32 count Belfast in flax from Zweigart. And so I put in a little more than 90 stitches just to satisfy the threads that I had. So I did 30 stitches in dark and 30 stitches on an animal for the horse. And you can see there, I've got most of his front half done. And then for the white, I'm using 3865, which you may be able to very slightly see there. Snowflakes up top, and then the girl has got a scarf wrapped around her head, buttons, and her pants are in that color. So just a little bit. I contemplated working on this until the block was done, but I had some other goals that I wanted to get to, so I just got this done and moved on. And so there's that. Okay. The next project that I worked on very minimally it was for School of Magical Stitches homework last week for our Hogsmeade visit, and I needed to put in 100 stitches on a project somehow related to Honeydukes Sweet Shop. And so I pulled out my Spooky Countdown by the Primitive Hare. So let me show you where I got to. And this task was just 100 stitches, so I worked on these 2 blocks here. I started and finished this block. It was so easy to do. These blocks are so small, and it's like candy. Can you really just stop at 100 stitches? No, turns out. So I finished that block, that little handsome devil, and then I got started on the next. So I put in well over 100 stitches, but it was all right. I was happy to make some progress on this one. Now I'm trying to stick to the goals as much as possible that I had set out at the beginning of the year, but a few of them did change because I'm kind of running out of time. I've got big goals, and it's hard for me to fathom getting them all reached by the end of the year unless I edit a little bit. And so this is one of those cases that was edited. Originally, my goal was to finish the project by the end of the year, but I'm going to go for a PhD, project half done. And so that would encompass 2 more rows of blocks and the top row, the top border. So there is that. And you will have seen a preview of what this is going to look like finished. The fabric, I almost forgot, 32 count Belfast in gingerbread from Hand Dyed by Stephanie. Okay, so Spooky Countdown, Farmhouse Christmas, got those tasks taken care of by Saturday. Saturday evening, I pulled out my next project for homework, and that was on In This Moment, aka Mika McKenna, artwork by Jeremiah Kettner, Charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. And I had 2 more tasks left to do, and I was putting them into this project. But 200 stitches on a Heaven and Earth design is not significant enough progress for me. So I decided to work on this for a few days, and I decided to go for finishing the By the Numbers 2400 for the month of April in Full Coverage Fanatics. And so that's what I did. I worked on this pretty slow pace. I probably could have done a lot more, but I was just keeping it kind of even and calm. The reason that I did so is I wasn't sure if this was going to get pulled for Mania, and I didn't want to push too hard, just in case this became my project for Mania. You know, I don't want to push too hard and then have to work on it all month. So I put in 2,400 stitches over the span of 4 days, and there it is. So here's the whole thing. Currently, I can see through the fabric, which, by the way, is a 25 count cream Lugana from Zweigart. And I stitch all my heids 1/1 full cross. I'm sure that's muffling my voice a little bit. Now let me fold in, and I will bring it in close so that you guys can see. This is page 22 in progress here. And yeah, this is it's really easy stitching. It's pretty quick-like. There's not a whole lot of confetti. The swan feathers in particular just go real fast. So yeah, there's that. And here is the first peak of the first wave. And I was really excited to get down to that point. So let me show you what I'm talking about. I am running out of interesting things in this project. So this little wave is what's bringing me joy right now. It's the simple things. I've been asked several times, now that I am in a position to just work over and do her face, why haven't I done that yet? And the reason is that this project is very symmetrical. And essentially, if I do all the goods now, then I'm gonna get a little burnt out on essentially mirroring what's already done. So I have to save the good bits to work in kind of regularly, but not like I can't jump ahead, just to keep the interest alive. So that's why her face isn't done, but it will get done before the end of the year. She'll have a face this year. So anyway, so that's my in this moment. On Monday, homework for this week dropped. Now, I contemplated working on In This Moment until it was finished, until the page was done, but first of all, I didn't want to burn out just in case it became a mania project, and second of all, I wasn't really going to be able to fit it in with the homework unless I did penalty stitches, and I'm a purist, as we've talked about, so I wanted to meet the task. So this project, I had pulled originally for extra credit for March and April. And then I tried to switch to a different project, but long story short, it doesn't quite meet up to the standards. So I'm working on it today as well as a little bit yesterday to satisfy part of the homework and part of the extra credit for this go round. So the homework task that this is meeting is the stitch on a building. And then the other task is green, and I'll talk about that in a second here. So this is August Quilt by Paula Vaughn. And this is from her book, Quilts for All Seasons. And you'll notice I've just got a loose page here. I chopped up my book because it's so hard to stitch from a book. I have such a hard time with that. So I split it down the center, and I was going to put it in page protectors, but as it turns out, page protectors are a little too small. So I'm either going to have to trim it or find another way. But it's just so much easier to work from these loose pages than that book. That was difficult. So there's that. And I'm working on the siding of the house, if I didn't mention the siding for homework. I don't have a before and after for this one because I barely worked on siding last night, and so it's really just not worth like all that effort. So I'm working over here on that siding. And this is on a 32 count cream linen from Zweigart. And this is my oldest Polyvon, started in 2015. Isn't that pitiful? That's pitiful. My goal for this project has remained to finish it because I've got 3 of these quilts currently on the go. I'd really like to stitch my way through the book. So I'm just going to keep working on this until it's done. And if I can get into it, I can make some quick progress. It's just, I have never really spent some dedicated time on it. So anyway, so it's going to get 800 stitches by the end of today, hopefully. We'll see. I'm getting a late go of it, but there's that. Okay, so that's it for the things that I have worked on in the last 5 days. Few things for just a few days, but anyway. So let's get into the plans. And the first thing I have in plans is what I'm working on tomorrow. Tomorrow starts the Meaningful Sal, which is my birthday Sal this year. And I have asked anybody who wants to play along to pull out a project that means something to you. Be it it's associated with a memory or a person, or it speaks to you for whatever reason. Pull that out, work on it for a few days, eat some cake, use the hashtag JMDS birthday Sal. No. Hashtag Meaningful Sal? Ooh. I'll put it here because I forgot my own hashtag. Whoops. Anyway, so excited. Tomorrow, I am having my first new start of the year. I am breaking No Starts 2019, and I am starting my Hope Sampler by Maura Blackburn. This features the Hope quote from Emily Dickinson. This is the project that I tried to get in for the, I don't think I mentioned it, the Time Turner task for extra credit this month. It was work on a 1990s or before. This is kind of a faux reproduction. It's not a true reproduction sampler, so it doesn't quite fit. But that's okay, because I'm going to work on it for homework, because the second homework task is green. Green or on a tree or on a plant, I think. So, or maybe it's just specifically tree. But that's okay. There's a ton of green in this, so I will make it work. So, there is that. I'm starting this tomorrow. One thing I did want to say is that I am breaking no starts for this, but only this, probably. There's one other thing that I am contemplating starting later on in the year, outside of October, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. The long story short is that I've not given up on No Starts 2019 entirely. It's temporary. It's just for this one new start. So there's that. And I'm very excited. I also applied this to the current extra credit stitch on a frame. So there's a border that goes all the way around this, which I am stitching in Gloriana Sumatra. And that's showing up pretty true. Gorgeous blues and greens. I'm so excited. And my fabric came in, so I'll show you that here in just a second. The more astute among you will notice that when I talked my works in progress, I did not talk about my Stark House banner, which I am working on for the hashtag For the Throne Sal that I put together. Yeah. So the long story short is that I forgot. Danny and I were catching up on Stranger Things. Yeah, I know we're months behind, but whatever. We finished season 2 now. We're ready for season 3 this summer, just like everybody else. It's okay. But I was working on In This Moment, and then I thought about working on this during the episode of Game of Thrones. But I can't stitch watching that show. I don't know how y'all do that. I can't. It's like going to the movies. I can't stitch while I'm going to the movies. Anyway, so I'm showing you this, but it's really just a placeholder to let you know that I will work on this week. My plan is to make this my only project on Sunday so that I can make up for last week and just get some good effort into this. So this is the Stark House banner by Lolita made on Etsy. The fabric is 32 count Belfast Valyrian steel from Hand Dyed by Stephanie. The thread is DMC 762. So that will get some love on Sunday. After that, I don't know. I need to work on temperature balloons for the April section. And I probably will have to relook at March, April stitching extra credit to make sure that I've got all of that taken care of by that point. So other than Stark House banner on Sunday, who knows? However, on Wednesday, we start Mania. I'm so excited. So let's talk Mania, you guys. A few things to talk about in the Mania section here. First of all, a huge thank you. I had some, I think 70 votes for what project I should work on for Monogamous or Monogamania. And I'll show you that here in a second. I'll show you what happened with that. But I just, thank you guys for voting. Thank you for helping me battle my indecision. Thank you. Y'all are phenomenal, and I super appreciate you. I really loved reading your rationalizations for why you chose what you did. I loved hearing that several of you thought Opus 2 should be my project before I even listed it as an option. You guys are fabulous, and thank you. Seriously. So cool. Okay, so Mania. Stitch Mania. Anybody else obsessed with Stitch Mania plans videos? I am obsessed. Sammy J and I talked about this last year. Every time it comes around, I get super excited about Mania plans videos. So much so that, like last year, I created a playlist. So I'm going to link it down below. If videos come through on my subscription feed that say Stitch Mania 2019, they go in that playlist. And then periodically I'm also searching both hashtag Stitch Mania 2019 and not hashtag Stitch Mania 2019 into YouTube to add some channels that maybe I don't even know, to add their videos to the playlist. So there's already some 20 some odd videos in there, I think, maybe 30. It's fabulous. It's such a happy place. But I know that I'm missing some. I know that I'm missing some Mania Plans videos because I search for the term Stitch Mania 2019, but I know that not everybody titles their videos, or they titled their video with something else, but they talk about their Stitch Mania plans in that. So if you created a video and you talk about your Stitch Mania plans in it, link it below, tell me to go find it, etc. Do that, and I will make sure I get you added to that playlist so that we can all binge Mania videos. It's one of my favorite times of year, and I get super enabled. So much so that I came this close to abandoning No Starts 2019 entirely and to going with a starts filled 29 Stitch Mania. Like, I was this close. Y'all are showing things I want to stitch. Market this year. I was in my stash the other day looking for something, and I found a bunch of things I want to start. Having a hard time not starting things for Mania this year. I gotta tell y'all, about 2 weeks ago, I hear some people who are doing No Starts 2019 that they can't wait until 2020, until that clock strikes midnight 2020, so they can start all the things. And for the last couple of weeks, I've been feeling kind of, I might have a No Starts 2020 as well. But all of that has gone completely out the window with my feelings this week in watching Mania videos and just being completely enabled. So I'm going to have to figure out a way to limit the starts next year. to really stick to a limited starting schedule, so to speak. But we've still got 8 months to figure that out. So anyway, okay. So I think that's all that I have to say about that. Let's talk about what I'm working on. Okay, I have my notes here. So I went through and I tallied up your votes for which option for my Stitch Mania, my Monogamania. And if you listed 2 projects, if you couldn't even decide between 2, I marked it for just the first one you listed. Gut instinct, I marked the first one. So here's how the votes shook out. The, let's see, past Mania projects, 12. Touching the Autumn Sky, 9. In This Moment, 9. Opus 2, 38. It was a landslide victory, an absolute landslide. And so I have decided to go ahead and go with that. So I'm so excited to get into this. So this is Long Dog Sampler's Opus 2, aka Maggie. Maggie got more votes than Opus 2, I think, actually. And if you look at the comments, you'll see pretty quickly that this was the winner pretty much from the jump. So excited. Okay, so this is being done on a 32 count linen in oyster from MCG Textiles. And I am stitching it using DMC 924. This is going to be such a great project for Monogamania because it's simple. And outside of Mania, my May is crazy. We have a ton of birthdays in May. We have Mother's Day. There's so much going on in May. So I am really excited to work on something that's simple, but like not super mind intensive. I'm so excited about this. So that's where I'm starting from. Now, when I mentioned this as an option last week, I said that I didn't think it was possible for me to get this project done in 19 days. I didn't think it was doable. And then I got to looking a little harder. And honestly, if this takes me 2 weeks to finish, I'll be surprised. I have this big motif here, and this little one, and then a couple of itty-bitty little things over there. I have that big motif, that medium to big motif, and that one. And then all of the little guys over there. That's it. That's all I've got left. This giant motif here in the middle is done. And so let's say it takes me 3 days to do each of those big motifs. That's 12 days. And then I have 2 days to do all the other little bits. Like, if this takes me 2 weeks, I will be surprised. I will be super shocked. So, I'm going to work on this until it's finished. Okay, so here's where things get a little, not complicated, but it's up in the air. That's the best way to put it. It's all up in the air. So outside of my Monogamania project, my other goal for the month is to finish page 22 on In This Moment. I have to keep going on this, finishing a page in the odd months. And since May is an odd month, it would get 10 days. So I'm going to give it those 10 days to get that page finished and maybe get a jump on the next one. I have like 4,600 stitches left of the page or something like that in 10 days. So I'm pretty sure I could knock that out quickish and then get started on the next page. And then I'm left with time. There are probably going to be a few days left in May without anything scheduled. So I contemplated a couple of things. I contemplated scheduling in perhaps the runner-up in the voting thing. So maybe I would then get into Summer or Queen Anne's Lace because the Mania Projects was the runner-up. Or something else. I had a lot of different ideas about how I was going to fill that probable time. But here's why I didn't schedule anything in that space. Because I don't know. I mean, I don't know for certain. Something could happen and I could be unable to stitch for a few days, and Opus 2 does indeed take me through 19 days. And then I don't have this time that I'm speaking of. So I scrapped that idea, and I'm kind of on a wait and see kind of mentality. So then I started thinking about WhipGo. Every month I draw 2 projects from my WhipGo board to put in for focus weeks. And with Mania, I hadn't really considered doing a draw, but I need to, because one of my ultimate goals for the year is to work on all of those projects in my WhipGo board. So I thought, well, maybe I will do those draws for May, and then if I get to work on them, cool. If not, okay, well, they got called anyway. Okay, so fast forward to this morning, and I'm looking at the stitching extra credit for May and June. And what I found is that I have a ton of projects for most of these tasks. So much so that indecision is starting to take over, and I can't decide what to work on for each of these tasks. So that sort of reiterated the idea of drawing my WhipGo projects for May. For March and April, I set up my projects for the Stitching Extra Credit first, and then I did my WhipGo later to schedule things out. I'm doing the reverse this time. I haven't decided what my Stitching Extra Credit projects are, but I'm going to draw for a WhipGo, and then that will help me choose which projects I go for in WhipGo. And so that is the primary reason why I'm not showing you Stitching Extra Credit this time, because I don't know yet. I'll have to work that out before next week. So I hope that all of that made sense. If it didn't, don't worry, it's okay. It makes sense to me, and I'll figure it out. And yeah, there it is. So I am going to insert here the clip. I did already do the WhipGo draws, and you guys will find it interesting. So let me insert that here. Okay, everybody, here we go. Time to draw some WhipGo projects. So I just got finished explaining sort of what we're doing here, and I suppose why. And so I'm going to go ahead and do these draws. So just a real quick run-through recap kind of thing about WhipGo. WhipGo is essentially bingo. Yeah, I created it just out of necessity for some motivation. That's the word I'm looking for some motivation. And so I chose 24 of the projects that I was focusing on this year. I put them into this little table that I created using the Mac equivalent of Excel in Numbers is the name of the program. But it's just a table. And I draw 2 projects for this for each month, and typically speaking, they go into my monthly rotation. And so I am going to draw 4 of them here now, 2 for May and 2 for June. Now, if any of these that are colored in, either black, dark gray, or light gray, if any of them get colored in, then I'm going to redraw. Because the black ones have been called and the goals are finished. The light gray ones have been called. The goals aren't finished, but they've already been called. They don't need to get called twice, even though they need some more time. And then free space, I don't have a free space rotation. So we'll sort of see how this goes. This may take a few draws. So I have 1 through 25 here on my random.org number generator, and we're going to hit generate, and we get number 6. So this is interesting. Oh, Queen Anne's Lace is my first one for May. That's funny. Okay. And then I will hit generate again. And I'm going to get number 24, which is Glory of Autumn. I meant to mention, the goal for Queen Anne's Lace is to finish it. The goal for Glory of Autumn is to put in a total of 5 days, and I've already put in 2. So that's pretty interesting. Okay, so there's May. All right, now let's go for June. We get number 5, which is Fantasy Cell. That's already been called, so try again. 23 is Beauty and the Beast. Again, already been called. 8, Forever and Ever. Again, already been called. 1, Opus 2. Well, this is probably, I did it again. This is probably going to be a free week because I'm probably going to finish it in May, as we've talked about. So we'll see. And the second, 23 again. 13. 13 is Free Space. So that is done. Free Space is taken care of, but I have to draw again. And we're going to get number 16, which is Give Thanks. Okay. That's another one where the goal is 5 days, but I've already put in 2. Yeah, 2. So just a few more days, and that'll be all set for that. Okay, so let's go ahead and put this into my Stitchy calendar. Since May is devoted to Monogamania, my Whipco projects are going to go up here, and if there's time for them, then I'll work on them in here. So Queen Anne's Lace was the first one. And then what was the other? Glory of Autumn? Yes. All right, so I've just got them up there to let me know when I get further down the month. If I've got open space, then I can stick those in. So we'll see. And then in June, let's see. June, for the first time in what feels like forever, I am back to my normal rotation. So focus 1 was, what was it? Oh yeah, Opus 2. So that's free week because I will probably finish it in May. And then Give Thanks. Now Give Thanks only needs 3 more days, so I'm going to call those free days because I'm trying to stick to the goals that I have set. I'm trying to stay on top of the goals that I have set and to not exceed them too much. So this is what June looks like currently. This is real basic. These other 10 days here still need to get filled in. I don't know what I'm going to do with those 10 days, but with the year 4 extra credit in School of Magical Stitches, I may need those days to get extra credit done. Goodness knows that's what I needed here in April. So we will see how that shakes out. I am looking forward to it. So I think that is all that I have to share with you for now. I will get you back to the other video. So as you can see, it looks like Queen Anne's Lace might get worked on in May anyway. And that's really just if I've got the time freed up in, it all depends on Opus 2. It all depends on Maggie and when I get that project finished. I am so excited. And it's also kind of bittersweet. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself once I don't have Maggie in the rotation anymore. More importantly, no, not more importantly, but also importantly, that's my long dog sampler. That's it. May have to try to work one into October. We'll see. So there is that. That is my plan for Mania. And I am so ready for Mania, I just can't even tell you. Okay, so that's going to end the plans. Let's switch over and talk stash acquisitions. Okay, first up in stash is something, it's one of those cases where you bid on something on eBay and you think, it'll never come to me. Somebody's going to outbid me and that's okay. And then it does. It wasn't even my max bid, and I won this, and I'm kind of excited about it. So I have recently decided that the Prairie Schooler, both this one for Thanksgiving and then the other, the companion for Christmas, I would really like to stitch those. And I found this cardstock autumn samplers on eBay, and I did not pay out of print pricing for it. I paid a little more than retail, $6, but not a lot. It is shelf worn, but it's not marked up. I'm very excited. And honestly, I would stitch this whole pamphlet. I'm excited about it. But I really do. I love these. So looking forward to getting into that. So there's that. And then I need to get Christmas samplers. I think it's Christmas Samplers 2 is the one that I need for the Christmas one, but no hurry, no big hurry. I know that one hit the reprint, so I really like the cardstock Prairie Schoolers, but I'll pay retail for the other ones. That's not a problem. Okay, up next is some needle liners. Heather, the Imperfectly Perfect Stitcher, posted that she had some new stock, and so I immediately went over and I bought some things. So here's what we got. So I've wanted a moon for a while, and I love these moons with faces in them. So I grabbed that guy. And then this derpy pin cushion. Yeah, I love him. He's super cute. And the butterfly is really what drew me in, because this is for my Hope sampler. I just thought a blue butterfly for my very blue-green sampler, that would work. So that's what I got. And then she sent this, what I call an Abby Cat, as a little freebie. So thank you, Heather. Heather's stuff is awesome. She always has the coolest minders. So I will definitely link her below. Go ahead and check her out. I really like these laser woodcut ones, and she's always got those. So there is that. And the other thing that I received this week is my fabric for my Hope sampler. And when I tell you that this is perfect, I mean it is perfect. This is what I wanted, and I am so glad that I couldn't find an acceptable substitute before now, because this is perfect. This is what I wanted. So this is XJU Designs, and it is a 32 count Belfast in green apple. And it has that smell, that XJU Design fabric smell. Okay, so that's coming up a little bit washed out. It's a little bit richer than that, but it is kind of a buttery, soft green kind of color. So Hope sampler on 32 count, I needed a cut that was, I think, like 21 square or something like that. So pretty close to that. Let me see if I can get this to show up proper. It's richer than it's going to show up with this overcast day and heavily false lighted day. Anyway, so I think it needs to be at least 21 inches wide for a 3-inch margin. And if I had gone with like a standard cut of fabric, I would have had to have gotten a fat half. So way bigger in one direction and just a little bit too big in the other direction, but that would leave me with really strange cut scraps. And I mean, that's a lot of money for a piece of fabric. And then I saw this cut on XJU Design's website, and I couldn't believe my eyes. This is a 21 by 34 inch cut. So it's kind of an odd cut, but I'm not bothered. It's the right width for my Hope sampler, and it's beautiful and it's perfect. And I don't have it handy, but it's gonna be stunning on this, and I'm so excited. So there is my fabric for that, and I will get to start stitching on it tomorrow. So that takes care of the stash acquisitions, My nest egg is sitting in my mailbox, but I forgot to go get it before the video, so I'll show that next time, no problem. Okay, so we're gonna move into books. And just now I've made the decision that I'm gonna talk about knitting next time. I'm still working on the same project, and it's really just gotten bigger from last time, but not by a whole lot. So I'll just show that next time and we can talk knitting next time. But we need to get into the books. So this is gonna be the last segment of this video, and it's gonna be a doozy. So buckle up, y'all. If you're looking for recommendations for books, I got them for you. Okay, so first of all, let's start with the book that I've finished, and that is Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. I was reading this for the School of Magical Stitches and Literature extra credit task of a reread for Turning Back Time. I've read this book several times now and have loved it each and every time. I've picked up on some things reading it this time that I didn't in the past two readings, so that's been a lot of fun. So this is just a real quick run through. I rated it 5 stars, and yeah, it's not like earth-shatteringly good, but it's a really strong book. Okay, so this book is about Alina. Alina is an orphan, and she grows up in an orphanage alongside her best friend Mal, and so they grow up together, and after they leave the orphanage, they both join the Second Army. I think I called it the First Army before, but I think it's the Second Army. So in this world, every child is tested to see if they have magical abilities, and if they do, then they go to a school for what are known as Grisha. Grisha are magically inclined, and there are several different classes of Grisha. And when Mal and Alina are tested as children, nothing comes up. Turns out they don't have any magical abilities. Okay. So a major aspect to this world is the unsea. The unsea or the shadow fold. So essentially, a long time ago, one of the Grisha, known as the Darkling, he was referred to as the Black Heretic. He went mad and he created the unsea. The Darkling's abilities, it's kind of hard to understand, but essentially it's like they play with shadows. They can make people go blind. They deal with darkness. And this guy, way back when, the Black Heretic, created this. It's essentially like a mass of fog, but it's black and it's dark, and it consumed everything that used to live there. And now the unsea is teeming with these monstrosities called the Volcra. And so I say all of this because that's really kind of the outset of the story. The First Army is attempting to cross the unsea. And during this crossing, come to find out, Alina is not as civilian as she seems. She's got some abilities, and that sort of sets a whole bunch of different things in motion. Now, Alina comes from nothing, and she's this scrawny little thing. She always looks tired. She's always sickly. She's got dark bags under her eyes. She's like, everybody is concerned about her, but like, it's just the way that she is. And so she finds herself thrown into the Grisha, and because of their magical abilities, they work in close concert with the king. And so she joins court and has to sort of navigate that on top of her own special abilities and trying to figure out how to do all that. This book is so good. It's fascinating. The characters are all very dynamic. The Darkling, I'm just going to put it out there, he's a fabulous character. Super charming, but also very mysterious. It's a really, really strong book. So I highly, highly recommend it. Also, there's a big old plot twist in it. So I know that one of the tasks for reading extra credit for this go round is a plot twist. That's a good one for that. Just putting it out there. So 5 out of 5 stars. Really enjoyed it. The narrator is phenomenal. The setting is very Russian feel. And as a result, there's a lot of very Russian feel terminologies. And the narrator does a really great job navigating that. So definitely check that out. Okay, let's switch over to the things that I'm currently reading. The first thing I'm reading is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, illustrated by Jim Kay. I'm super sad. This is the last of the currently published illustrated editions. So no more of these for me this year. But that's okay. I am thoroughly enjoying it. I'm about 100 pages in. This one is a total of, I think, 300 pages or so. So I'll get this finished before the end of the month, no problem. So there's that. Loving it. I'm not going to talk about Harry Potter because it's Harry Potter. Okay. The other 2 books I'm reading, one is on Kindle, one is on audiobook. You guys know I like to sort of read one from each category at a time. The Kindle book I am about 15 pages into, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. It is The Emperor's Blades by Brian Staveley. This is an epic fantasy, and yeah, I don't really know what it's about yet. I'm still trying to get my bearings in it. The reason I'm reading it is one of the tasks for extra credit reading is by an author whose initials are either the forward or the backward initials of the four Marauders. So Peter Pettigrew, James Potter, Sirius Black, Remus Lupin. So if you take SB and flip it around, you get BS, Brian Staveley. That's why I'm reading this. If you are looking for a review a little bit sooner than I can give it to you, I know that Ann P. Fiber Floss and Fiction, she read it, and she talks about it in her most recent video, so definitely check her out. Linked down below. The audiobook that I'm listening to, I am obsessed with, and I'm probably going to finish it probably tomorrow or Friday at the latest. It is the latest book from Harlan Coben. If you don't know who Harlan Coben is, and you happen to read mystery, thriller, psychological thrillers, stop what you're doing and go get some. Harlan Coben is one of my favorite authors. I had no idea that he had a new book releasing this year, and then it popped up in my, hey, you might want to check this out. And I went, oh my goodness. And I've ran over to Audible. I had a credit sitting there waiting, and I got it. And let me just tell you, it's so good. So this is called Runaway. I'm about halfway through, and so a really quick synopsis. We have a very well-to-do family. They are wealthy. They've got lots of money. Dad, Simon, is a wealth manager. Mom, Ingrid, is a model turned pediatrician. And they live a very comfortable life in New York City. They have 3 children, and their oldest daughter, despite having it all, despite having like no real traumas in her life or anything like that, she becomes a drug addict and finds herself mixed up with the wrong people. Long story short, she runs away, but she's in her 20s, so running away, what does that actually mean? And she ends up getting mixed up in something. It becomes gang related. It becomes drug dealers and murder, and it's really intense. And to try to help her her parents are on the search for her. They're on the hunt for her to try to figure out what's going on and to save her from this nightmare that she's found herself in. Harlan Coben's books are great because he introduces these characters and these scenes, and you're like, that's completely out of left field. How on earth does that have anything to do with this main plot? And then as you get to the end, it all converges and it all makes sense. And it's always surprising and it's always fascinating. I love his writing style. It's good. It's just really, really good. And it's already struck some societal nerves. For instance, at the beginning of the book, at the very beginning, I'm not giving anything away here, Simon, on his lunch from work, so he's in a fancy suit, these fancy loafers, a tie cinched all the way up to his throat, looking like $1 million. Punches this guy. Broad daylight, just outside of Central Park, plenty of witnesses, lots of people filming. It goes viral, and he is hit with assault charges for hitting this guy. And I'm not going to talk about their relationship because that could be a little bit spoilery. But what it looks like to the general public is wealth disparity. Super rich guy punching the lights out of this guy who looks like he's poor and homeless. And so there are implications with that. But because Harlan Coben is so smart, he talks about the fact that going viral in nowadays age is very short term. People forget very quickly. So it's fascinating. It is so fascinating. I love his characters. This narrator is phenomenal. Check this out if you are looking for a good mystery. It's good. It's really good. Okay, let's get into the books that I am intending on reading in May and June. I'm going to try to talk about these quickly so that this doesn't take a half an hour like it did a few hours ago. We'll try. Okay, so first things first, step number 1 is to read Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. And so here we go, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. It feels very strange to hold up this little itty bitty book when I've been holding up these big gargantuan illustrated things. But anyway, this is my favorite of this series and I am so excited to get into it. I may read this and also listen to the audiobook sort of in tandem. We'll see what happens. I think this is the 15th anniversary edition. This is a box set Dana got me for Christmas a few years ago. And the spines all make up Hogwarts Castle. What I love about these, well, one of the aspects I love anyway, and it's a minor thing, but the original Scholastic edition of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire was 734 pages. And these have been formatted so that they are the exact same length. So this is 734 pages. And I just love that. So anyway, I'm very excited to get into this and get back into my favorite year. It's a turning point for the series. It gets dark and I love it. Okay, so every school year in Magical Stitches, we have an alternate task. So if you don't want to read Harry Potter or if you want to read something else in conjunction with Harry Potter, then you can. And for May and June, the only task is a book that's greater than 700 pages because Goblet of Fire is greater than 700 pages. And the long story short, which is kind of ironic, is this behemoth. Kyle, Kate, I'm finally going to join you. So this is The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. This is epic fantasy. This is the first in what will be a 10-book series by Brandon Sanderson. Right now, 3 books are published, but he's planned for 10. This takes place in the same universe as just about everything else that Brandon Sanderson has done, but it's a different world entirely. It's the same universe, just a different world. I don't know what this is about. I just know that it's epic fantasy. I know that a lot of people whose reviews I trust have loved this, and I have a feeling I will too. So this is my book for that alternate task. This is 1,007 pages. Yep, 1,007. It's a big one, but I'm excited to get into it. I have 3 big books chosen for all of these tasks, and I think that what I'm probably going to do is the big ones I'm going to cut in half. So I'll read 360 pages or so of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. I'll read 500 pages of The Way of Kings. That's crazy. I cut it in half and it's still a big book. Anyway, so I'm going to try to break it up over the 2 months, to span the 2 months, rather than try to just read it straight through. This next one is not a book that I'm planning on reading this go around. I may read it in July, but we'll see. But Carolina of Crafts Makeup Food, I think I got it there. She posted to School of Magical Stitches sort of seeking recommendations for greater than 700 page books. And that's a really great thread if you're looking for something. But I have to mention this book because it's my favorite book ever, and so maybe this is up your alley. This is The Bronze Horseman by Paulina Simons. And this is my favorite book ever. Harry Potter is really close to this. Some days I think that Harry Potter is my favorite, but The Bronze Horseman it totally and completely captivated me. So this is World War II historical fiction taking place in Leningrad, Russia. It is one of the better love stories I have ever read. It's beautiful and it's brutal and it hurts in a lot of places, and I love this book. It's 800 pages, so if you're looking for something and historical fiction is your jam and World War II historical fiction is your jam, but maybe you want something that's not set in Germany, this is a good one. Just saying. That's my plug for The Bronze Horseman. Personally, I don't care for the audio. I don't care for the narrator, but go check it out if that's your thing. I just love that story, and I love that story. Okay, I'm going to pull up my phone here with the tasks for the extra credits so that I can run through these books here and talk to you about what I will be working on, or reading, I suppose, not working on. Up first, read a book with a competition in it. The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. And I'm super excited about this. This will be great. The second paragraph of the synopsis here reads, but behind the scenes, a fierce competition is underway. So there you go. A duel between 2 young magicians, Celia and Marco, who have been trained since childhood expressly for this purpose by their mercurial instructors. I'm very excited about this. I know that I might be the last person on planet Earth to have read it. It's probably not true, but I'm pretty close to the last, down there anyway. But I'm excited about it nonetheless. I'm very intrigued by magical realism, so there's that. And that is surprisingly smaller than I thought it was. I thought it was more like 600 pages, but it's less than 400. Cool. I'm about it. Okay, next is read a book that features a journalist. I am going with Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. Fresh from a brief stay at a psych hospital, reporter Camille Preaker faces a troubling assignment. Reporter, journalist, that works. I thought about reading Night Film by Marisha Pessel, but that's a big book, and I've already got 3 really big books planned out for this month, or for this go-round, so a good short one sounds good to me, and I'm kind of in the mood for some really messed up Gillian Flynn. Okay, next, task 3, read a book with a main page genre of either history or historical fiction. A Secret History of Witches by Louisa Morgan. This is a generational saga historical fiction with 5 generations of powerful mothers and daughters. I have a feeling that this is going to be a very feminine forward novel, and I'm excited about it. So that's my pick for historical fiction. Okay, next, read a book with a plot twist. But the book that I have chosen is called Monday's Not Coming by Tiffany D. Jackson. I read Tiffany Jackson's Allegedly a couple years ago and fell in love with her writing style. This book is described as, if you like Gillian Flynn, read this book. Apparently it's messed up. It's young adult, contemporary. It tackles some pretty difficult topics. There are plenty of trigger warnings in it for abuse and drug use and that sort of a thing. So tread lightly. But my understanding is that it has some big plot twists. And if Allegedly teaches me anything, Tiffany D. Jackson does some good plot twists. Allegedly is another really good one if you're looking for something. Also, some trigger warnings, just to let you know. Okay, so there is that. I'll have inserted a cover. Task 5, read a book with a key on the cover. This task. It is practically synonymous with reading challenges. I knew it was coming because every reading challenge in the history of Foreverdom has included a task, a key on the cover. And I dislike this challenge because I am almost never able to find a book. Okay, if you're looking for something, I do know that The Archived by Victoria Schwab is a pretty strong book. I've already read it, but it's got a key on the cover, and it's a pretty good one. So check that out if you're looking for something. I found a list somewhere. It wasn't on Goodreads, it was off Goodreads because the Goodreads list got me nowhere. But I found a book that intrigued me enough. It's called The Winter Siege, and it is by Ariana Franklin and her daughter, Samantha Norman. I know next to nothing about this, other than it's 12th century, I think. So medieval. And other than that, I'm kind of clueless as to what it's about. So that is what I'm going to read for that. I think it's only $1.99 for Kindle, so I grabbed that up real quick. So there's my choice for that. Okay, the next task is read a book with mermaids. If I can, I go to my shelves, to the books that I have first, and what I came up with was Of Poseidon by Anna Banks. This is young adult fantasy, 2012, I think. Where mermaids and zombies were pretty prevalent. Yeah, 2012. Pretty prevalent in young adult fantasy. Here's what young adult fantasy used to look like. It was more sci-fi in the dystopia direction, so Divergent, Hunger Games, etc. Or it was paranormal creatures, mermaids, dragons, shapeshifters, werewolves was a big one. That's kind of what YA fantasy looked like there for a couple years. Anyway, so I will check this out. It's highly rated on Goodreads, and it's highly rated by some old bookish friends, so I am cautiously optimistic. Go with that. But there's mermaids, for sure. Okay, up next is read a book with a feast or dinner item on the cover. And this one is another one where I'm not entirely sure if it's going to work because it features a spoon. And so I'm hoping that a spoon works. It's a dinner item. So unless they mean food specifically, I'm going to make this one work. It's The Wonder by Emma Donoghue. I don't know what this is about. I happened to see it, and it's something that's been on my shelves, my want to read shelves for a while. So that's what I'll be reading for that task. There's a spoon on the cover. If not that, then I'm going to struggle with this one mightily. Okay. Task 8, read a book with a dragon in the book. There's giant book number 3, The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. I started this book at the beginning of March. Ooh, that's embarrassing. I'm only 200 pages into it. It's slow burn, epic fantasy. Fascinating and interesting, and I love the writing style. I've read it super slow like. This is a really great book for more than 700 pages, but with that task, you can't have started it before May 1st. For these extra credit ones, you can, because they're not worth as many points individually. So this one is okay. I'm not quite halfway, so it's all right to continue with this for that task. There's a dragon on the cover. There's dragons in the book. Dragons feature prominently in this one. My task, or my pile over there is getting a little precarious. Okay, number 9, read a book with a fancy dress on the cover. You remember how I talked about mermaids and zombies in 2012 YA fantasy? Here's some zombies. But this is steampunk, and I haven't read a good steampunk in a long time, and Susan Dennard, who's the author of Something Strange and Deadly here, she has written some more things as of late that I have been really wanting to get into. She wrote the Truth Witch series, which I'm really curious about, but this is the one that I have had on my shelves for a long time, and that's definitely a big fancy dress. So I am looking forward to getting into this one. I hope that it's dark. That's all I'm going to say. I hope it's dark. Okay, last task is read a book that has a character or characters that are visiting from a country other than their own. So for this task, I went with a book called The Storyteller's Secret. The author is Sejal Badani. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing that. This is a contemporary fiction about a New York journalist. So there's another journalist. And she finds herself at a crossroads, and she decides to go to India to sort of find her family and find her roots and sort of figure out where she comes from, who she comes from. Sort of a rediscovery kind of a thing. So she's a New York journalist in India. That'll work. And I've had this on my shelves for a while, so I'm looking forward to getting into it. Whew, we did it. That was faster than last time. I'm really glad of that. So that is all that I have. Now, as far as when I'm going to be reading these things, tell me what you guys are curious to hear more about. My intention is to read them all, but the reality of the situation is that I am not that great with reading. My track record is kind of me this year. I've read 10 books in the first 4 months of the year, and there are 12 here. So that's kind of a big ask, but we'll see. Anyway, so tell me which ones you guys are most curious to hear more about, and maybe I'll prioritize them in May. Just for some sort of you and me interaction, I suppose. Anyway, everybody, that is all I've got for you this week. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your continued support of me and my channel. You guys are the reason why I film twice in one day for one video. But I greatly appreciate you guys. Thank you for your likes and your comments and your subscriptions. I seriously love the comment section, and I hope to get better at sort of maintaining a dialogue rather than a monologue and then you guys responding. So I hope to get back to that. Okay, everybody, I'm gonna head off. I hope that you're well. I hope that you're stitching. As always, be kind, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.